Hey guys, GameBoy3800 here once again, and I'm going to discuss my opinion on Intel versus AMD and NVidia versus AMD. You know, AMD is competing in both categories, CPU and GPU, so I will give my opinions for both and which one I would recommend right now today. I will probably rethink or redo this video once both Kaby Lake or whatever it's going to be called comes out, along with Pascal, and then there's the Polaris Vega GPUs coming out for AMD, along with the Zen core for the CPUs of AMD. So once all that is out, I will probably completely redo this video, but that's a few months away, so whatever. So the first I'm going to talk about are AMD versus Intel. I'm going to give pros and then the subsequent cons for each component. So I'm going to start off with AMD here. AMD, they have much more affordable CPUs compared to Intel. While an i7 might be $350, AMD's 8-core chips are as low as $180. So even though it's running an older architecture, they're still pretty good, and they're good for a budget. They're also easier to install. You don't need to worry about the pins on the motherboard bending and breaking so easily because they are so very fragile on an Intel board. And it's just a single retention clip versus the hold down plate and the the one retention clip and the plate over that, with the CPU dust cover thing on top that you need to worry about. Or if you're on the X99 platform, there's only, like, you know how that has 2 retention clips. So yeah, easier to install with just one retention clip, just holding it there. And then most boards also have built-in mounting for the cooler, so you don't need to worry about their stupid backplates as much on AMD. That argument is negated if you have an X99 platform, since they don't have backplates, it's built in. And next for AMD is that their APUs have very good onboard graphics. You can play 1080p medium settings on even some big titles like Battlefield. AMD is way ahead of Intel on that ground. And then for the last bit of AMD is that they are typically very good overclockers for the price point. You could usually get 8350 way over 4 gigahertz. It's already over 4 gigahertz, but over 4.5, 4.6. It's not uncommon to hear of 5 gigahertz on an 8350. And in fact, AMD has done that. They released a 5 gigahertz pre-overclocked 8350 called the 9590. And now we're going to go on to Intel's pros. They're more powerful. Like, per core, per watt, they have a lot more power than AMD. And they have a lot more options for enthusiasts with the X99 platform and the 6-core 12-thread or 8-core 16-thread on the 2011-3 socket. And they are a lot more power efficient. While a 9590 may run or have a 220 watt TDP, Intel may only have 140 for even their highest end CPU. So it'll be easier to cool in Intel as well. Intel is also more up to date, being able to use M.2 natively and DDR4 compatibility on even the mainstream boards now. And I kind of went over this. They offer more cores on the high-end CPUs. Well, more cores plus threads. AMD has 8-core chips, but they're only 8 cores, no extra threads. So, take what you want there. Cons for Intel. Not too many, other than they are way more expensive and not too friendly on a budget unless you go really low end. For AMD, it is heat, because Lord knows a 220 watt TDP CPU runs hot. It requires liquid cooling, almost. And the FX lineup of CPUs is from 2012. It is way, way old. Thankfully, they are updating it with the Zen core, but so far, only thing surrounding it are rumors at this point. So, yeah. Alright, so next we're going to go on to AMD versus NVIDIA. Alright, NVIDIA versus AMD, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm going to start off with AMD again. And they have this part here being more affordable as well. I'm going to compare the 390X to a 980. You can get just about the same performance on a 980, sometimes even surpassing it, especially in 4K because of its extra VRAM. For usually less than a 980. The only thing you'd have to watch out for is heat, once again. And there is more memory available on lower end cards, so like you would be able to get a 370 or 380 to have 4 gigabytes of memory. Meanwhile, a 960, only a few vendors have it in 4 gigabyte variants. Most of the time it's in 2 gigabyte only. And the 390 and 390X both have 8 gigabytes. And the only kind of card that comes up from that on NVIDIA side is the 980 Ti, still being below at 6 gigabytes and costing significantly more than a 390 or 390X. And in the higher cards, they have a more advanced memory. So like they have the HBM, they're the first to have HBM, and it seems like they're going to be the first to have HBM2 as well for mainstream. I know there's the HBM2 Pascal P100 or GP100 in the Tesla card they recently announced. But that's way too expensive. It's not coming to mainstream, not yet. We don't know what the mainstream Pascal cards will have. And then finally, AMD has quite a number of dual GPU options. This includes the Radeon Pro Duo, just about to be launched. It's been announced for a long time. And also the Power Color Devil 13 Dual Core 390. That's a 2 R9 390 GPU on one PCB. And they did the same thing for the Dual 290X thing. This is a refresh of it with the 2 390 cores on it. So you have multiple options there. And finally, on the high end of AMD, they have liquid cooling, like pre-attached. So like, I know Power Color's Devil 390X has liquid cooling. I think they have an R9 Nano with liquid cooling as well. And then we all know the Fury X has liquid cooling by default. So that can let even the highest end of AMD chips run really, really cool and really, really quietly. Alright, now we're going to go on to NVIDIA. They are a lot more powerful. Just plain and simple, more powerful. Per watt, per core, more powerful. But that also means they're more expensive. On the NVIDIA cards, they have more memory on the higher end cards. So like a Fury X only has 4 gigabytes, a 980 Ti has 6, and a Titan X has 12. So more memory options. And despite being more powerful, getting better frames in almost every game, they are a lot more power efficient as well. You'll be hard pressed to see a 970 consume more power than a 390. And then some cards even have a VR edition. This means they have an extra HDMI or DisplayPort connection on the back of the card, so that you can plug in a cable and have a 5¼ inch bay with all your VR connections. So it's a lot more convenient and a lot more just better in the case than AMD would be. And then, I already discussed this, it kind of goes hand in hand with being a lot more power efficient, but NVIDIA cards run much cooler and quieter, even the reference models. Even though they go up to 83, that can be nothing compared to the 92 degrees that AMD cards can reach. And that's going to be it for this. Cons for AMD is the heat, and they are known for kind of reusing older architectures. Like, even though the 390 and 390X are different cores, they share so many similarities with the 290 and 290X that they often do get confused for the same chips, just for the 300 series having more memory. For NVIDIA, it's expensive, way more expensive. And usually the higher frame rates can be justified, but come on, $1,000 for a Titan X, which is barely more powerful than a 980 Ti, which is $600 something. I don't see the value there. For CPUs, which do I prefer? Intel, all the way. They just have a lot more enthusiast options, and that's what I'm looking at right now. In the future, though, all these things could change, so I will make an update video once I get my hands on some of the new tech. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and leave a like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, Gameboy out. I'll see you in the next video.